by remembering where we've been in an honest way, okay? I intend for all participants to simply remember the power of pain and the pleasure of personal influence and the strength behind healing, okay? All of us are not only healing ourselves, but we're guiding our children to recreate their version of the same reality. So we want to bear that reality in mind. Comprehending the power in our darkness and the motives behind our dedication behind it all, okay? And you can follow along with this presentation with your own personal charts, because when it comes to that part, we will be getting out our charts and exploring. And I definitely encourage everyone to explore this aspect with their own family members, especially if you have any challenges in your relationships. Okay, so this is a resource one of my resources, Blue Hay, and she is known for scientific affirmations, the type that get to the manifestation aspect of our brain, which is known as the frontal lobe, and it's located near the front. It's literally the active point of our brain where we're able to program ourselves. So I want to mention that before we journey into this world, because if any kind of information takes us aback, now or later, it's dope to know that we have resources, and words are curses. So let's curse ourselves with some beautiful reality. Okay. Now, again, this information is available on the Jupiter Love Facebook page, okay? Where you can go and personally explore what the website directly had to say. Okay. So the first marriage was documented as being recorded in 2350 BC in Mesopotamia. It was with melanin deficient people, and the whole MO of the community was they had leading intelligent men that just had their pick of women, and of these pick of women they bared children. So the woman that was the most capable would be the wife, because it's like, can I depend on you to get some stuff done? So they had the exchange of husband and wife, but it was not what we know it to be today. It was very corporate-like, okay? No emotional exchange back in this time. Men had mistresses, men had male lovers. Young teenage male lovers was very popular back then. They had prostitutes. They was getting loving from everybody but the wife, unless they needed some kids, and the kids was to continue on the bloodline and to do the physical work. It was not about sweet love at all.
Business.
Yes. So, and this is what is documented as being the original wedding. So this is the format that's kind of being advertised in current reality. Okay. Yes, sir.
Was it contractual?
That came later, and we will be discussing that. We're getting right into it. Additional information. The first official marriage that was between a man and a woman was in 2350 BC, Mesopotamia. So this is the way that the dads gave their daughters away back then. In ancient ceremonies, a father would give his daughter away saying, I pledge my daughter for the purpose of producing legitimate offspring, and then let her go. Okay? The men could take several wives if they wanted to. What you paying.
So does it have something to do like with their status or their wealth?
Yes, if they can keep it up. They have to be able to keep it up. So if you have a Ford type ideology, but in regards to your baby making ability, and you got the long money like that, you got that world. But the love exchanges were with an additional being. Okay. Religion became more important in like around 1560. The Council of Trent was written, and Canaan law was introduced into marriage.
Canaan law?
Canaan law, yes. Canon.
And that's when it became contractual.
Yes, a classical law, especially in Roman Catholic Church, that laid down by the papal pronouncements. It's a set of ordinances and regulations made by the ecclesiastical authority of the government of a Christian organization or church and its members. That's what the purpose of Canaan law is, and this is the beginning of the contract for marriage. Okay.
So they was able
So this was written law.
Yes, this is the original origins of the contract for marriage.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Was that later that they were able to capitalize off of that and make it like it is today and make money from those documents because they were documented and had to go through the law?
Yes, it's structured to be that way. Like if you are a church, you have the ability of filing taxes in a specific way where you get benefits, and then because you represent yourself as a church, you're able to request and ask for monies that are in lieu of that exchange. And this is saying that the origins of that exchange is rooted in this right here, Canaan law.
Okay, I think what you're saying is what they're using today with the marriage certificates, that seal is traded on the stock market.
Right.
That's an American thing.
Yeah.
As well as birth certificates where it's legally filed so that they make more money. We're considered assets. And when you're married, ultimately you're worth more because they understand it's a combination. It's a combination. It's more long term.
Right. So Canaan law is the root of that escalation. This is the concluding reality. What Sister Queen Shamika just explained. So this is the root of it, Canaan law. Okay. The Christian doctrine promised that the twain shall be one flesh, granting husband and wife exclusive rights to one another. That's where that came from. The Canaan law. Marriage was for practical purposes, not for love. Okay. Love wasn't said to enter the marriage union until the Middle Ages. And this would be in relation to, you want to Google the fall of Western Roman Empire and slavery, so that you're able to see how this reality affects us.
The fall of Western Empire?
Yes, the fall of the Western Empire and slavery. Okay. Modeling the royal lives of kings and queens around the 12th century. So you will want to refer to the Beasts of Love. And this is a document that was written by Richard D. Fournival, Fournival. He categorized himself as love's victim, referencing the tree of knowledge, Adam and Eve, pondering the responsibility that a woman takes when she fails to process instructions correctly.
So that's when they start making up all those laws about what women are in pregnancy and putting
Well,
all that into scripture.
It wasn't necessarily law at this particular time because it was life. So it was bigger than law. Women didn't have rights. We didn't have a voice. It didn't matter. We were getting raped by our husbands. So what? You married him, and you're supposed to. And this is like a teenager married to a 30-something-year-old or 50-something-year-old.
They didn't really bring that law into existence for our culture until OJ did, murdered Nicole, and then they brought in law because you were a man's considered as a man's property, and he could beat the hell out of you, and nothing was done about it until he did that to that girl. Allegedly. Yeah. Right.
So they say.
Yalom is the author of The History of the Wife, and that's another document that could be looked into. This author believed that romantic love in marriage was the result of giving women more leverage in this misogynistic world. So when we started to feel more visible, we felt like being loved. Well, it wasn't going down when we were just invisible, though. Women grew to no longer exist to please their husbands. Now we're thinking about personal gratification. What can I do to please myself and not feel bad about it?
There were repercussions for that.
But this was the very beginning of the repercussions lesson. We're going from a time where women had a very dark period where they pretty much were invisible, right? So you're a teenager and you're married off. That doesn't mean anything. Your marriage is an agreement. Your daddy said he wants you to have legitimate kids in the bloodline, and he picked that dude to be the one.
Arranged marriages.
Yes, it was very focused on arranged marriages, but what if she was a daughter that couldn't bear children?
Right, they didn't know that until she had to get a husband and have intercourse.
Right, and when they found it out though, take the girl, ball her up like a piece of paper and throw her in a corner. She had to go find some kind of way to live, being pretty much like an old hag, regardless of what was happening with her. Any kind of idea that she could have of life being fun was ripped because her only gift, well, she not giving her womb to that dude. So they like, all right, you go in the trash.
But that was the idea of having many wives. So if you had the resources to take care of that whole family, then they wouldn't just cast you out. You had a source that was always providing for you. So you always had sources for the wives and the children.
Yes.
And that was the idea behind having many wives at that time. So
Still
you
to
wouldn't
this
be
day.
just left out there wandering in Neverland.
Correct. Still to this day, that's a common practice. And I know we're not talking about African yet, but that's the concept of Africa. So although we're seeing it in a light because we're talking about where it origin from, but ultimately that's marriage in Africa to this day. Love is law, family.
Oh, my bad. Oh, don't put that on there, baby.
So the idea of having multiple marriages, having multiple wives, would be because it's a business. Right. And we've misconstrued, which you'll go into, and I'm not going to go.
Right.
Love.
Okay.
Well, we're going to get to the love part. We're just about there. But pretty much she's saying that in the golden times of the colony-themed times where they were discovering America, Christopher Columbus, polygamy was basically the theme of the world. Everybody was doing it. Okay.
Now they call it cheating.
Well,
In the next room.
how about it? The husband's identity was absorbed into the wife. Okay, and you want to reference the legal document coverture. So you want to look that up.
Coverture.
Yes, legal document coverture. COVERTURE. She gives up her name. that symbolizes her surrender to her man. She's surrendering. Lay me down and I take you. Yes.
And
that is
wearing
what
the
that.
wedding ring.
Yes.
And she wore one wedding ring.
The idea of wearing a wedding ring is that you're tagging yourself as I belong to someone. I'm a piece of property.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And
And
tagging
then
yourself.
beyond that,
Yeah.
this is what suddenly he becomes more important. Legal documents now mention both names in very strict rules.
yeah,
And that's just the
miracle bed.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now, American women that married foreigners had their citizenship, their American citizenship revoked off top. In 1920, women won voting rights, and so marriage significantly changed.
Was that for black women too, or just for?
Just overall, generally, I think it's more melanin deficient focused than melanin rich. I don't think
Right,
so.
right. That's what I thought.
By the 60s, interracial marriage was legal. Birth control laws were dropped, and the 70s we began to recognize marital rape. So the past 40 years has been far more leading than the entire 5,000-year journey.
Wow.
The last 40 years. That's really important to pay attention to.
Now, before all of that, how did the concept of jumping the broom play its part in the whole marriage thing?
That's African.
Right. Jumping the broom is an Africa idea. And the reason why I started this information this way is because I live in America and I want to know what the American laws are, because when I'm involved in situations, I speak legalese. But I don't know, I just know something don't feel right. I want to know the law behind the feeling. So that's where all of this presentation was origin from. Yeah, jumping the broom is African though. Now, getting to Africa, speaking of, we're going to talk about Anthony and Isabel, okay? They were two servants.
Can you spell?
Yes, Anthony is Antoney.
Toney.
Yes.
Okay.
And Tey. Yeah, Toney.
N-E-Y. Okay.
Yeah. And Isabella is Isabella.
Got it.
Their documented name is Tucker. Tucker. And again, this is documented around 1619.
First black marriage.
Yes.
1619.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, this is where all Africans were brought into the colonies and sold as slaves in this time, okay? So William is their son, and he was born about 5 years after this, okay? 5 to 6 years after. So Christopher Columbus had docked the Mayflower, and that was around the same time that the first child was identified, the first melanin-rich child was identified by name. Now, they used to do the census reports back then, just like they do now, and those are the records that they're using to get this information, okay? Other black children were listed in the Tucker household with unknown birth dates. And the historians know all of this because of documents that were handed down to the younger generation. So somebody wrote it down. Keeping record of stuff is important. Okay. Then we have, let's see, Anthony and Isabella Tucker were the first Africans documented married in the New World in 1624. Both Anthony and Isabella were both identified as servants, not slaves.
They was indigenous.
Not indigenous, they were servants though. So apparently we only had two groups back then. Servants were house slaves, ultimately. And they had a prettier name. The slaves worked out in the field.
You mean the slave that was in the house? They had the prettier name.
Which they
They
call
were
them
called
servants. They
servants.
dressed it up. and called
Yeah.
them servants.
It was dressed up, but they were
Like
still slaves.
they do now. When the people work domestic, they call them domestic techs or something, or you know, they always dress up something when they make it look. It's first get kind of ugly, and then they dress it up with a nicer fitting name that will fit the principle of what's going on.
Yep,
You wanna
make
change
it prettier.
Yeah, make it pretty.
As an incident of that type of thing, your average garbage person that pick up the garbage,
Right.
now they call them
Sanitation.
sanitation engineers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Engineers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like
you an
a go-getter
engineer for
there.
picking up garbage.
Okay. And they get paid well.
Oh yeah,
They
they do.
sure do.
They definitely do. Anthony and Isabella's son, his name was William. Okay, the son that was born like around 1625. He was William Tucker, and he's believed to be the first black child born in the English colonies. The colonies were opposed to enslaving Christians. The right to participate in holy or civil wedlock and enjoy the legal privileges of marriage and protections became an honor. So you had certain protections afforded to you as a married couple, which was very beneficial within the melanin-rich community.
Right, so there was a melanin-rich community.
That's
Back
what
in
we're
the
talking
colony.
about right now. Yes,
Mhm.
yes. So
That's good.
And they weren't Africans?
they were brought over from Africa.
They weren't slaves.
These two were not
Oh,
documented
those
as
two were not slaves.
They were
Mhm.
documented as
Well,
servants.
they had
So
black people here before the
But they
slavery
was-
existed.
Right,
Like
and not
they said.
everybody was a slave. Some melanin-rich people had slaves.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the first one who put us in slavery was not the white man, but
Arabs.
it was
Yeah,
the
Arabs.
Arabs.
But that's
And
another subject.
Right.
Let's see. All right, so we want to ask ourselves, does marriage itself imply certain citizenship rights?